The film opens as if we're somewhere in Berlin during World War II. The Führer, Adolf Hitler, is meeting with a behavior coach named Keppel. Hitler gripes about how people greet one another, arguing that even if the Nazi salute is outdated, folks should at least lift their arms to the wrist as a sign of respect. In narration, he insists he has done everything a man could do to shatter the enemy forces who defiled their land. He finds it absurd that Germany still exists in this state, and even more alarming that he is still here to see it. Cut to Hitler waking up on the ground in a wooded area. He stares up at the sky, notices there are no enemy planes, and assumes the pilots must be taking a break. A ball suddenly bounces over and stops beside him. He gets to his feet, heads past the bushes toward a building, and is soon approached by 3 kids who ask if he's all right. Hitler studies them and thinks of them as the nation's future. He asks for directions to the street. At that exact moment, a reporter named Fabian Sawatzki is filming those kids. Hitler appears in the distant background of the shot. He picks up his military cap and mutters that he ought to get to the Führer bunker. Once he reaches the road, Hitler is stunned to see people riding monowheel bikes. Bystanders take out their phones and start filming him. He notes that the rubble may be gone, but the people seem to have lost their minds. Feeling the sleek surface of a modern car, he wonders if he was in a coma and somehow slept through Germany's victory. Realizing he has no real grasp of what's happening, he decides he must gather more intel. He asks a passerby where the chancellery is, but the man only wants a picture. Blinded by constant camera flashes as onlookers line up for photos, Hitler concludes that something here has gone seriously awry. As he walks off, he overhears a woman speaking German on her phone. He steps closer and asks for the date. Terrified, she sprays pepper spray into his eyes. With his vision burning and turning red, he stumbles to the nearest newsstand. The headline date, October 3rd, 2014, shocks him so much that he collapses. Elsewhere, at a TV station, the boss Karner praises Christoph Sensenbrink for doing a great job as deputy head. Christoph expects a promotion, but instead, Miss Katja Bellini is named managing director. Stunned and bitter, Christoph returns to his office and unloads his anger on Fabian, a struggling filmmaker. Despite Fabian's pleading, he is fired and escorted out by security. Sometime later, Hitler comes to at the newsstand and again asks the owner about the year. The man confirms it's 2014. Hitler, suspicious, accuses the shopkeeper of abducting him and suspects this is an enemy intelligence operation. He threatens to kill the man if he's working for the opposition, so the shopkeeper hands him a chocolate bar instead. Hitler fumbles it open, sniffs it, calls it industrially pressed grain, and asks if bread is still scarce. The shopkeeper, assuming a film crew must be nearby, mistakes Hitler for an actor. He remarks that Hitler looks exactly like the Führer, to which Hitler answers plainly that he is the Führer. Hitler then spots a Turkish newspaper and asks whether the stand carries Der Stürmer or Panzerbeer. The shopkeeper explains he has more Turkish customers nowadays. Hitler is astonished that so many Turkish people live in Berlin. He settles in with the papers, gathering as much information as he can. From what he reads, he concludes he did not win the war, and that Germany has been run by clumsy leaders with the charisma of a soggy noodle. He also laments that Poland remains and decides the war was a complete waste. Meanwhile, Fabian watches one of his old soccer reports, upset over being fired. His mother tells him to pause. She's noticed Hitler in the background of the footage. Fabian is intrigued to discover someone who looks so convincingly like Adolf Hitler. Back at the newsstand, the owner tells Hitler to put the papers away and step outside. Hitler mutters about being ordered around. The shopkeeper suggests he wash his clothes because they smell. Hitler heads to a laundromat, drops off the uniform, and asks if they have anything else he can wear. He refuses to walk around naked. Soon, Hitler appears at the stand wearing jeans and a sweater. Fabian, who has tracked him down, waits inside. Seeing Hitler up close, Fabian is amazed. He asks if he can film Hitler moving through modern Germany. Hitler agrees. Fabian borrows money and a car from his mother, and the two set off. They end up at a hotel, where Hitler is fascinated by the television. He decides his segment with Fabian should focus on politics. He interviews people about their political views. Afterward, he concludes that democracy has barely changed how people feel. He detects dissatisfaction and simmering anger, the same mood he recalls from the 1930s, though back then it lacked a catchy term like political disenchantment. People complain about immigration, prompting Hitler to insist that mixing races doesn't work. Later, Fabian asks how Hitler ended up with that distinct mustache. Hitler says he trimmed it like that so it would fit under a gas mask. Not long after, they visit a farm where a dog bites Hitler. Enraged, he shoots the animal. Fabian is horrified, scolds him, and confiscates the gun. As their trip continues, Fabian runs out of money. He improvises, convincing passers-by to pay Hitler to draw caricatures. Hitler sketches sarcastic images, people laugh, and the cash starts coming in. With enough money collected, they keep moving. Back in the city, Fabian shows a clip of Hitler to Christoph. Since Fabian uploaded it online, the video has racked up a lot of views. Christoph is impressed by the numbers and asks for Hitler's name and contact. After meeting him, though, Christoph decides Hitler is unhinged and tells Fabian to get him out of the building. Before leaving, Hitler walks into the director's office and proposes that they save Germany together. Bellini is intrigued and asks for details. Hearing his pitch, she instructs her assistant to create a proper TV format to feature the Führer. Fabian then threatens Christoph, give him his job back, or he'll take Hitler elsewhere. Christoph relents, rehires Fabian as a kitchen assistant, and promises a promotion when a new editorial spot opens. A little later, Hitler is given a desk in the studio. Christoph assigns Kromeyer to help him with computers. Hitler reminisces about the machines from his time and calls the invention one of humanity's greatest. Kromeyer tries to register an email for him, but finds the name already taken. Annoyed that others have stolen his identity, Hitler tells her to use New Reich Chancellery, which he likes. Christoph schemes to place Hitler on a live comedy show called Whoa Dude. Still bitter about Bellini's promotion, he wants to sabotage her. He hopes to stir up racist controversy, sarcastic jokes about Jews, and then dump Hitler altogether. The show begins. Host Witzigmann calls Hitler to the stage. The audience murmurs about his appearance, but when Hitler locks eyes with them, silence falls. He breaks the tension, not by reading the scripted lines, but by refusing to tell a joke about immigrants. He declares that television is a brilliant invention, yet most programming is nonsense. He highlights poverty and unemployment, warning that the nation is marching toward an abyss without noticing. He vows to fight television, not just up to the edge, but until those problems are overcome. The crowd loves it and applauds. Seeing Hitler's reception, Witzigmann grows jealous. Bellini tells Christoph they should put Hitler on every show. Christoph is rattled. His plan has failed. Next, we see Hitler giving interviews across TV programs, saying his mission is to make Germany great again. His fame skyrockets. He meets political leaders and influencers, charming many with his rhetoric. At one point, Hitler and Fabian visit the NPD headquarters in Berlin. He summons Ulf Birne, the party's federal chairman, and demands to know what they've actually accomplished. He belittles them, saying they've wasted years and pushed the movement decades backward with empty talk. Christoph is thrilled when police and the district attorney show up at the studio with a complaint about hate law violations. Bellini asks what they should do. Christoph quickly suggests they might need to cancel the Führer's show, but the DA says the broadcasts can continue. Bellini exhales in relief. Christoph fakes a smile. After they leave, Kromeyer hands Christoph a letter about paying damages for the dog Hitler shot earlier. Christoph is delighted. Maybe this will finally cause trouble. Then Hitler appears on a program where he's asked pointed questions about his role in the war. He claims he wants to reach the people, but the interviewer insists his actions can't be justified and plays the dog shooting video. The audience is disturbed. Hitler gets angry and threatens the interviewer, saying he'd do the same to him, and promises to turn the studio into a tank parking lot. Christoph is pleased to see the backlash. After this disastrous appearance, Bellini is fired, and Christoph becomes the new manager. Hitler then moves into Fabian's place. He marvels at fate's strange path and begins writing a second book, which soon hits the market. 3 months later, at the TV station, a meeting is held about the company's massive losses. Christoph believes Witzigmann's show will fix things, only to hear that the host has quit. Tense and angry, Christoph blames his staff. Someone suggests bringing Hitler back on air. Christoph is suddenly interested. He tracks down Hitler and offers Fabian a deal. The station will invest $1 million in the movie Fabian and Hitler are making, as long as they can broadcast the film on their network. Hitler and Fabian visit Kromeyer's home, where her grandmother recognizes Hitler instantly. She accuses him of gassing people and calls him a criminal, ordering him out. In the car, Hitler admits he surprised Kromeyer is Jewish, then begins degrading Jews as less than human. Fabian is disheartened by Hitler's words and behavior. Back on set, Fabian has Hitler recreate how he first arrived. He asks what happened before the ball rolled toward him in the woods, but Hitler can't remember. Later that night, Hitler steps outside and is surrounded by thugs who say he's the reason to take Germany back and punch him hard in the face. When Hitler regains consciousness, he finds himself in a hospital with Bellini at his bedside. Meanwhile, Fabian reviews the soccer footage from day one and notices something startling. Hitler rose up from exactly where he'd been lying, curious about what preceded that moment. Fabian rushes back to the location and finds a sign marking the historical site of the Führer bunker. Fabian hurries to the hospital, but Hitler is gone. Bellini explains he's already headed back to the shoot. Fabian insists to Bellini that this is the real Adolf Hitler, but she doesn't believe him. Agitated, he tries to explain his theory, sounding hysterical. Security moves to detain him, and he runs. Fabian reaches the set and aims a gun at Hitler. When he demands to know who he really is, Hitler replies that he's never claimed to be anyone else. Fabian accuses him of deceiving people with propaganda. Hitler answers that in 1933, the public chose a leader who was absolutely transparent about his ideas. Fabian forces Hitler up to the roof at gunpoint. Cornered, Hitler is called a monster. He fires back that ordinary citizens elected an extraordinary man and handed him the country's fate, and they did so because his values were already in their hearts. Enraged, Fabian shoots him. Hitler plunges from the building and hits the street below. Moments later, Fabian hears Hitler's voice declaring that no German can rid themselves of him. The same man who just fell appears right behind Fabian again. Then Bellini calls cut, and the studio erupts. Turns out they were filming a scene, and an actor was playing Fabian this time. Hitler urges everyone to remember the comrades who are no longer with them. Somewhere else, Kromeyer cries as she peers at Fabian through a slit in a mental ward door. Meanwhile, Hitler and Bellini sign autographs and give interviews as their film becomes a hit. Passing a car on the street, they're greeted warmly by fans who show Hitler respect.